Average at Best Cornhole here. Got something a little different for you today. I did a couple experiments to try to determine if color affects the speed of carpet. Now, I did choose herringbone as my carpet. And before I get started, I want to give a huge shout out to Big Mac Bags. I didn't want to have to purchase 8 sets of bags for this experiment, so I reached out to him, asked him if he'd make me a bag with each color herringbone he had, and then my only other request was that he took the herringbone color and actually put that on the fast side with his logo, so it'd make it easy during the video to see which bags are running down the ramp. I'm going to start with the preparation before I get to the results, and I'm sorry, but I want to lay these groundworks out and explain to you exactly what I did to try to control this experiment and make it so the only factor really affecting this was the color of that herringbone. For starters, Big Mac Bags made me the same series of bag. So what that does is that it's the same fill and it's the same weight for every one of these bags, and he made them in a batch together. Now, the herringbone probably comes from the same manufacturer, but the plastic, it does get manufactured a little bit differently at times, so there is that factor. But with him doing the same fill in the same weight, I knew that the herringbone color was going to be the biggest difference in all of these bags. Now, unfortunately, he did not have black herringbone when I started this. I actually picked these Quarantine L's up later on, and I'll get to it later. I did the math. They did coincide with the regular Quarantines, but it doesn't do well going down the ramp because it is a lighter bag, so therefore it's not going to travel at the same speed as the regular Quarantines. Now, my background is mechanical engineering, and I do so happen my career is at a plastic extrusion company. So I know all about pellets and I know all about extrusion processes. And herringbone carpet is actually a polypropylene plastic. They extrude it and then put it in the weaves. And during that extrusion process, when they make the plastic, the coloring is actually embedded in the plastic. It's not printed on top. If you were to be able to pull these apart and get a strand and cut it in half, you would see that color running through the strand. So to get to my experiment, first I weighed and measured all the bags. I then broke them in all in the same tub, all at the same time. After they were broke in, I told Cooper, I set up some boards. I said, go through all these bags. So he threw all 8 of them at the same time, multiple times, to get the bag actually broke in. After that, I then took the bags and threw them in the washing machine and washed them. I wanted to make sure I got all the dirt out. And then when they were done washing, I actually took one of those fabric shavers and shaved all the fuzz off of them to make sure that one bag wasn't fuzzed up a little bit more or one bag wasn't dirtier than more. I really tried to control this experiment as much as possible. The main part of this experiment used my ramp. It's a ramp I built. I brought it inside. I am in the middle of winter right now in Ohio, so I brought it inside. It's temperature controlled. I had a humidity gauge set up the whole time while I was doing this experiment. It fluctuated a little bit, but it was more like between 40 and 45% humidity. The first thing I did was I took all the bags. I wanted to calculate the coefficient of friction, and I did that using a force gauge. It actually has a peak setting, so if you pull on it, it's going to show the peak force that it takes to move that bag. And I did this on the ramp. My ramp is adjustable. I set it at 30 degrees angle because that was the easiest for the math. And then I ran each bag 10 times and recorded that, and then took the average of those measurements. I did 5 on one side of the ramp going up the ramp. I did 5 on the other side of the ramp going up the ramp. Now, full disclosure, this video that I have posted, it was not me actually doing the measurements. I didn't record it when that happened. I just did this quick video to show you how I did it. And I do want to give credit to the master of custodial arts, the janitor himself, Matt Wilson. I actually seen him use a similar force gauge on a TikTok when he was reviewing Wizard and Wizard L bags, and that's what gave me the idea to do that. While doing the math, I assumed that gravity was consistent, which it should be. So therefore, This experiment was controlled to my environment on my ramp. And like I said, the angle was already set at 30 degrees. The only thing that should have changed was the coefficient of friction of each of these herringbone colors. After I got that coefficient, I started racing these bags down the ramp side by side. From the math, it said that the dark orange should have been the slowest, so I did start with that one. The only problem is the math was so similar that everything was in the range of error. So therefore, even though the dark orange said it was the slowest bag out of them, was it really? And I ran every bag against it 5 times on the right side and then 5 times on the left side, and did that for all these bags. I think on to the results, and I really thought I was going to do this experiment to prove all the people that said color doesn't affect the speed wrong. But in fact, I was the one that was wrong. I am clear to say the color does not affect the speed of these carpets. I'm not going to bore you with 490 videos of these bags running down the ramp. I'm actually going to start with the beginning ones, since I did the dark orange and the light orange first, and then I ran them down the ramp against all the other bags. I'll include that. And I also did run them down against the black, and then I had another set with pink, just because I was curious. Now, when I did calculate the black coefficient of friction, with the less weight, the math actually worked out that it was similar with the other quarantine bags. The pink bag, it was way different, but completely different manufacturer, completely different fill, completely different weight, completely different bag. So you should be able to see in these ramp videos that there's really not much of a difference. Yes, maybe the dark orange loses one time, but then it could win the next time. And that is the range of error I was talking about. Another interesting thing you can look at is that the oranges, they might lose to the dark blue or something, but then when you get to the white, and if it does lose to the white, it's very minimal, about the same as the dark blue. And then you run the dark blue against the white, and they're probably about the same also. There was no aha moments in this experiment at all running these bags down the ramp. Also, if you see, I started off with the black bags, 2 black bags. Those were my controlled substances. I ran them down to prove that the ramp was running the same speed, because they are the same bag. There was multiple times in between this video where you see me pull those 2 bags back out and run them down, because I was a little confused, especially when a bag was a little bit faster than the other one, which it shouldn't have been. And then I run the 2 black bags, and the same thing. One of the black bags was a little bit faster than the other black bag. I actually went and got my level, checked the ramp, ran them down again, and the black bag that was slower the first time was now faster than the black bag that was faster earlier. This again goes into that range of error that I was talking about. I honestly think the biggest takeaway from these ramp videos that you should take is that if a bag is beating another bag, especially down in the slower category, then once it got up into the faster category, the faster bag should beat it by a lot, but it doesn't, and it doesn't even beat it all the time. And I'm going to end it with my conclusion and some thoughts on maybe why people think color does affect the carpet. I really, really, truly thought that it did myself. And now I think the biggest issue, or not issue, but I think the biggest thing is that, your oranges and your blues and maybe dark grays, I forget which colors were popular when herringbone first came out. Those were around for a year or two. It was later on that people started releasing bags with the black and the white. So you have a herringbone bag that you've had for a year or two playing it. It's fuzzed up. It's dirty. It's completely broken in. And sometimes I think when the fabric breaks in that much, when it hits the board, it flattens out a lot more than a stiffer, newer bag. But then you buy a set of black or you buy a set of white and start throwing it. Well, it's a brand new bag, so now you automatically think that it's faster than your older bag. And I've seen the argument where people said that they broke in bags at the same time from the same manufacturer, and they're different colors, and one plays a little bit faster than the other. Well, honestly, I think that's all in your head. We all know cornhole is a mind game. If you're about to throw a bag and you already have in your mind that you think it's faster than another color, subconsciously you are throwing it a little bit lighter. I really tried to control these bags, so literally the color was the only thing affecting it. If you do like the content, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you want to be average at something, be average at cornhole.